ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਸੂਬੇ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਦੀਆਂ ਹਦਾਇਤਾਂ ਹਟਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਹਜੇ ਹਦਾਇਤਾਂ ਹਟਾਉਣ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਇਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਜੇਸਨ ਕੇਨੀ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਿਆਨ ਜਾਰੀ ਕੀਤਾ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਲੈ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਟਰੈਵਲ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਹਦਾਇਤਾਂ ਲੱਗੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਟਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ।
It's time for Justin Trudeau to stop the pointless federal COVID travel restrictions. Of course, Alberta has already dropped almost all of our public health restrictions, and we've done so safely. We did it as part of our prudent plan to reopen Alberta's path to normal. And I want to be clear, this is based on data, on the information we've learned about COVID over the past 2 years. We've seen data in Alberta and from around the world that points to the same thing, that the worst of COVID is behind us and we can focus on getting our lives back to normal. Yes, we'll do so safely and we'll monitor the impact of lingering COVID-19 and undoubtedly future waves, but we have to move forward together because we have new tools on our side, new treatments and new ways of caring for those who are infected, and we have the life-saving power of vaccines. But we can't allow the division, the obstacles, and the barriers of constantly changing health policy to hold our society back indefinitely, because it's no longer public health policy to do that. For example, Dr. Peter Juni, director of Ontario's COVID Science Table, points to recent data which suggests that 2 doses of the vaccine, while still very helpful in preventing severe illness, are less effective at preventing transmission of the Omicron variant. Now, this means that the current system of so-called vaccine passports, like for traveling on an airplane, which is based on 2 doses, is now much less effective against reducing viral spread. Further to that, Dr. Kieran Moore, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, said recently that it was time to, quote, reassess the value of vaccine passports. In fact, Dr. Theresa Tam, the federal chief medical officer, has said that provinces should reevaluate policies like proof of vaccination because of their diminishing effectiveness against infection. Dr. Isaac Bogosh has said that if we were to keep the definition of fully vaccinated as having had only 2 doses, then current vaccine mandates will accomplish, quotes, very little. He went on to say, and this is Dr. Bogosh is an infectious disease physician originally from Alberta. He's also a member of Ontario's COVID-19 vaccine task force. And he said recently that, quotes, there's no point in keeping the proof of vaccination programs around other than if it's a tool to maybe encourage people to get vaccinated, which if we're using it for that tool, it's already run its course. So you either say we're doing this as a 3-dose vaccine series to be considered fully vaccinated, or you scrap it, unquote. And that leads into what Dr. Zain Shagla, an associate professor of medicine at McMaster University and an infectious disease physician at St. Joseph's Hospital in Hamilton, says that requiring 3 doses for vaccine passports is the wrong move at this stage of the pandemic, and it says singling out travel for COVID-19 testing, quotes, does not make any sense since it's no riskier than other activities. And that echoes what Dr. Simon Chakrabarty said, and he points to the futility of travel restrictions at the borders, saying, quotes, we're not really adding much, but we're adding a lot of extra complication. We're not going to be keeping Omicron out, or any other variant for that matter, unquote. This is also a view shared by Dr. Anna Berstein, an associate professor in the Department of Population Health at NYU, and she said that, quotes, Omicron is global. It has already surged in Canada. I don't think that the country should expect to see a slowdown in transmission from a policy like this, quote unquote, referring to pre-entry testing for travelers. In addition to all of this, we're seeing a trend across Canada where provinces are dropping or easing their proof of vaccination systems, like we did here in Alberta. In addition to us, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, New Brunswick have all eliminated their programs. BC, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland are reviewing theirs, easing or ending their programs soon. Plus, we're seeing this trend around the world, and this is especially true for the federal government's travel restrictions. Now, this was put succinctly in a statement from the Canadian Travel and Tourism Roundtable Industry Group when they said that, quotes, the federal government missed an opportunity to align with other international jurisdictions that removed pre-departure test requirements for fully vaccinated travelers. That's why I'm calling on the federal government to lift travel restrictions that no longer have any measurable public health benefit for Albertans or for Canadians. And that's why our government will present a motion in Alberta's legislature to call on the federal government to drop pointless COVID travel restrictions that no longer make any sense, that are no longer defensible from a public health point of view. For example, I'm not aware of any jurisdiction in the world, apart from Canada, that has a requirement to be fully vaccinated to board a plane. And the pre-departure testing requirement is now, as I've said, of very questionable value. It's just another way of holding back the hundreds of thousands of people who work in our travel and tourism industry with no measurable public health gain. Ending federal travel barriers is also a view shared by the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, whose president, Perrin Beatty, has said that, quotes, blanket warnings about travel at this point are unjustified. Across Canada and around the world, jurisdictions are learning to live with COVID-19 and lifting unnecessary barriers that harm both individuals and our economy.